Yeah, we want to be in His presence, right? How do you like that? How do you like that in the world to come? Going back to the future, we're going to be in His presence. For some, it's going to be an ugly experience, let me tell you. But for us, we've been waiting for this all the time. We've been waiting and waiting. But what we've been waiting for is because we are impatient. You know, we live in a society where everything is rush, rush, rush. We live in a microwave society. We want everything by yesterday. Sometimes we figure that God is like some kind of a customer service tech, you know. Lord, I want you to fix this thing for me right now. That's not the way He works. Sorry about that, but that's not the way He works. I mean, you want to worship Him? Obeying His commandments is a way of worshiping. So anywhere you go, you can worship Him without being in a place, obeying His laws, obeying Him directly. So the month of Av is the 5th month on the biblical year, the 11th if you count from Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, it's confusing, right? Kind of confusing. Yeah, I know. Sometimes, you know, it gets worse than the traffic in Atlanta. But it's okay. I mean, but it's because we are not used to this month, biblical months. We know exactly where the secular calendar is going on, right? We know when it's going to be 4th of July, when it's going to be. Nah, just kidding. I know it's happened a few weeks ago. But we know when every month, we know what everything is happening, right? Even before, you know, because we are being bombarded by advertisement and our heads are full of advertisement. We have advertisement all over our minds. And we know when the next sale on Macy's is going to happen, right? We know exactly when the next sale or anything is going to happen. Right? We know when the next jar sale around the corner is going to happen. Okay? We know a lot of other things. But then we go onto our Bibles and we read things and we're like, huh? Huh? I mean, I'm talking about myself. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about myself, all right? Just to be clear, not you. You are, man, and the scholar will be like, whoa. No, it's just me. It's just me. So this month is a month very complicated. It's in the biblical calendar again. It's the 5th month. I got some notes in here and some books and some things that I'd like to read to you. This is a great book. I really encourage you to read it. I'll show it to you later. The author is not a Yeshua's believer. He's a great scholar. It's called The Wisdom of the Hebrew Month. The month, the constellations, the letters, the tribes, and the message, and so on. Zvi Rizman. It's really good. And in his commentary, talks about Av. He says the compassionate Av, the compassionate Father. And then in some of the notes in here, I'd like to read to you. He says, the name of the month, Av, indicates mercy, in keeping with the verse, as a father is merciful toward his children. Tehillim 103, verse 13. In contrast, only in regard to the month of Av is there such stress on severe judgment. During this month, various calamities occur. The sin of the spies, the destruction of both the first Beit HaMikdash and the second. These events certainly are in stark contradiction with an Av who has compassion for his children. As a result, it is a long-established custom to add the word Menachem, compassionate, to the month name Av. Menachem Av, to underscore our hope to witness a comforting element to console Clark Israel for the awful tragedies suffered for the destruction of the two holy temples. Indeed, the designation Menachem Av dramatizes the seeming contradiction between the tragic events of the month Av and the hope and consolation, focusing on the shining comfort of the future will deliver. I mean, it's some kind. That's why I wrote here in my notes that this is like a metamorphosis. It's a transforming of our lives. I've been telling you about this changing that occur anytime we follow the cycle of the Torah. It's like a spiral. It's not a linear, like the secular years. There are in lineage. This one is not. According to the rabbis, it's on a spiral like a ladder going up to heaven, getting closer and closer to Av, the Father, through his, following the commandments. The same commandments that Yeshua followed. He taught us how to do it. So it's kind of make the things easy for us to follow up. So this metamorphosis is this transformation of our lives. Every year you follow a cycle, you climbing closer to the Father. Isn't it beautiful? I mean, whether you believe it or not, it's just beautiful. So we're going to see why we're going to talk about the destruction, from the destruction to the redemption. Remembering the destruction of the temples and why it happened. We've been reading it all along on the scriptures. We've been reading it, right? You've been reading it? Of course you do, right? So we've been reading it, and we've been seeing what's going on here. And as the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers, is finishing this week, it's also reminding us about many, many things. It's like when you have your children going out. Don't do this, don't do that, don't, right? Because you're coming back on time. You obey what I'm telling you. Come back at 10 p.m. and everything will be okay. And you're like, yeah, right, 10 p.m. 10 p.m., the night starts, right? So later on, when you're in jail, you're in trouble, you're in something. I should obey my father, And father is, I told you. Now, you stay there. Stay there, and we're in a big mess. And that's, people can be in jail and be free. People can be free and be in jail. You know what I mean? You can be in jail. You can be, how should I put it? You can be in a cage of your sins. You cannot get out of there somehow. You worry about this and that. You're being religious. You put in the scandals. You're doing this and that. The mezuzah should be this and so on. But you can't get rid of that particular sin that only you and God know what is it. So don't worry about the 613. There's one sin that you can't get rid of. That's the one He wants. He wants that part of you. He wants that particular sin, get rid of you with His help only. So, going back to my notes. This is the introduction still. Can you believe it? Okay, that's why I do these things. Otherwise, forget about it. So, there's two important events on Av. It's a month of sadness and a month of happiness. The 9th of Av, Tisha B'Av, is a fast day. And the 15th of Av is the Tu B'Av. I didn't write what else in there. It's the day of love. It's somehow of the, somehow the St. Valentine's on the secular calendar. Some kind of that, Not the same, but similar to it. And we are moving on from the biblical. What are my notes? Okay, my notes are somewhere. Let me see. We're moving from all this month. Okay, Tu B'Av is the 15th day of Av. Let me go back to here. I'm sorry about that. Tu B'Av, the 15th of Av, is both an ancient and modern holiday, originally a post-biblical day of joy. It served as a matchmaking day for unmarried women in the Second Temple period, before the fall of Jerusalem in the 70 of the Common Era. So, that's what it is. It's like a love month, a love day, I'm sorry. So, how these things sounds like a contrast, right? So, on the biblical spring festivals, that concluded with Shavuot is the period of time between Shavuot and the 17th of Tammuz, a Jewish fast day that it just happened, the 17th of Tammuz, a few days ago. What was the 17th of Tammuz? The 17th of Tammuz commemorates the breach of the walls of Jerusalem before the destruction of the temple. It marks the 3-week mourning period leading up to Tisha B'Av. So we are in that period of time. It's called, again, breach of the walls. You get into a reduced spot. Don't the gospel talks about something, go into this small door? Huh? Something like that. All right, so, Yes, that's right. Entering the straight gate. So, we are in these 3 weeks of sorrow, the 3 admonitions, all the 7 weeks, and the 7 weeks of consolation. So we're moving during these 10 weeks. It's time for us to kind of reconciliate with ourselves, with our hearts, The 3 weeks that we are in are also called Bein Hamet Zarim. The 3 weeks, or Bein Hamet Zarim, between the straits, is a period of mourning commemorating the destruction of the first and second holy temples of Israel. Again, it starts on the 17th of Tammuz and ends on the 9th of Av. You're going to hear me repeating myself a lot of things because I want you to be clear in this. The 3 weeks of sorrow is a period of 3 weeks of mourning again, which is completed in Tisha B'Av. Traditionally, it's associated with the fast of the 4th month. So it's mentioned in the book of Zechariah, in the book of Zechariah 8:19. We're not going to read that. We're just going to keep moving. So the 3 admonitions are the 3 readings we are into it. We just read Pinchas, very interesting portion, right? And difficult to understand sometimes. Where we read Jeremiah 1 from 1 to 2. The second admonition is Matot Masei, this portion, which again, it demarks, the limits of Israel, and it ends the book, and it ends with more and more laws and things. The third admonition is Devarim. It's also called Hazon. So after Matot Masei, we're going to have Shabbat Hazon, right? The Shabbat of the vision. Shabbat Hazon is the Sabbath immediately preceding the 9th of Av, and means the Sabbath of vision, Hazon, which is the way that the Haftarah and prophetic reading of Isaiah 1 to 27 stars. The Sabbath of vision and Shabbat Nachamu, which provides words of consolation a week later, embrace Tisha B'Av from opposite sides, cushioning the blow of the day of destruction, allowing the mourners to go into it knowing there is salvation and emerge from it reassured that redemption will come. So you have that portrait, destruction and redemption. The 17th of Tammuz is a Jewish fast and prayer. I already said this. Sorry about that. So, Tisha B'Av, for this year, is going to be celebrated or observed on sundown of July 21st. and ending at sundown on Sunday, July 22nd, for those who wants to fast that day. That's when you do it. You also read the book of Lamentations. Um, Tisha B'Av is a day of mourning for the destruction of the first and second temples in Jerusalem by the Babylonians and the Romans. And this is just a couple events that happened. There are many, many other things. I will read probably 3, 4, 5 pages of many calamities that happened. Between those calamities, also commemorates other tragedies, including the expulsion of the Jewish people from Spain and Portugal in 1492. That's where my families come from. The origins of these are of the sing of Tisha B'Av are in Parsha Shelach Lecha, Numbers 13, which happened to be what? The situation of the 10 spies. 10 spies. Those are the ones who were starting it, all this drama, this situation. Yeah, 10 leaders of the whole Israel. Just 10 leaders. It took 10 leaders to mess up the whole thing. And a good bunch of people to believe in them. That's why you shouldn't follow the crowd. You should just step up and say, wait a minute, what's going on here? Where are you going? Where are you going? Why are you going there? I'm not going there. And so you should stop and think about it. So this is a time for us to think about it. Think about our leaders and not blame them for everything either. You know, we blame our leaders for everything. What about me? What am I doing to improve my country, my family, my life, my work, my congregation, my everything? What am I doing to improve myself? Okay? So you start with everything. Stop complaining about what's going on in the world. Try to do something yourself to fix the world. Tikkun Olam, that's another great topic to talk about. Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. You know, you see something wrong, you try to fix it immediately. Try to see if you can't fix it, keep going. You will help better by not putting your nose in there at all. Just keep going, and fix something else. So, then we're going to see, these are the 5 more important calamities that happened in Tisha B'Av. The evil report from the 12 spies, the destruction of the first temple by the Babylonians in 586 before the Common Era, the destruction of the second temple by the Romans in 70 of the Common Era, the crushed Bar Kokhba revolt by the Romans in 132 of the Common Era, and a Roman officer named Turnus Rufus plowed the area of the temple under. That's how I wrote it. And so then we're going to look into the Isaiah 7 messages of consolation, starting with Nahamu, which means the 7 weeks of consolation starts with Nahamu, Viat Hanan, and it starts with Nahamu, Nahamu Amin, which means comfort, yes, comfort my people, says your God. Speak comfort to Jerusalem and cry out to her, for she has received from the Lord's hand double of her sins. The voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Isaiah 40, 1-3. So, some scholars believe that these portions of the Bible started on Isaiah 40 are from another author. I don't know, I'm not a scholar. I'm just reading, I'm just telling you what they say. To me, it looks like one book. And it's probably, you see, anytime you see something or you hear something, you should go back to the 1st century and check up what the apostles of Yeshua were doing. If it's not in the apostolic era, if the apostles of Yeshua haven't done anything like this scholar, ex-scholar is saying, then you should doubt what's going on. There are many things going on out there in the Messianic community. And this is the Messianic community in Mars, by the way. I'm not talking about any other congregation. That, they go too much into these things of dates, times, and how the month is created, and this and that. They complicate themselves with many things. And then they just disregard everything that the rabbi says. So everything that the rabbi says is wrong. The rabbi says is wrong. And wait a minute, these guys were here before us. So there's probably some truth in it. Of course, you have to read it and kind of examine, study, and then find a motivation on why are you doing it. Why am I into these things? What is the motivation for me to do it? Am I want to show off that I know something mysterious, something new that no one else knows? Or what? You just find out in your heart. So, to me, it's just one book. But again, who am I? I'm just the least of the least. Okay, so I don't know. But the 7 weeks, the 7 messages of consolation are nothing but 7 different portions. And these are the portions of the Haftarah, okay? And the Haftarah is all in Isaiah. Isaiah 40 from 1 to 26 is called Nahamu. It's Biat Hanam, and the Haftarah is called Nahamu that week. Then is Ekev, which is Isaiah 49 from 14 to 51:3. Batomer Zion, Re'eh, Aniyah Zohara is in Isaiah 54:11, 55:5. Shoftim, I love Shoftim. This is one of my favorites. Woo. Which is Anochi, Anochi. Isaiah 51:12 to 52:12. Hitetze, Rani Akara, Isaiah 54:1 to 10. Kitavo, Kumi Ori, Isaiah 61 to 22. And Nitzavim, Sos Aziz, Isaiah 51:10 to 63:9. Some rabbis, some Messianic rabbis believe that Yeshua was following these portions when he was in the desert, okay, fasting, starting it on Tisha B'Av, fasting on Tisha B'Av. So these rabbis, particular rabbis, and I do believe that he was baptized. The only place he was baptized many times, you know that, right? But the only time the gospel mentioned that he was baptized was in this particular time when John the Baptist baptized him, make a mitzvah of Yeshua. He mikvah many times, many times, hundreds of times maybe, especially for a righteous man, for a tzaddik. Some believe that the tzaddik used to mikvah almost every day. So, go figure that one. So, going back to Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av. Okay, so we're going to talk about from the Tisha B'Av. Now we're going to talk about the Tu B'Av, from the ashes of destruction to the redemption. Tu B'Av on this particular year is falling on Thursday, July 26th at sundown, or is the 15th of Av of 5,778. Tu B'Av is the Jewish Day of Love. I'm going to read this article. I don't remember where I took it from. I think it's down here. My Jewish Learning, if you want to go to the whole article and read it in plain English. It says, Tu B'Av, the 15th day of Av, is both an ancient and modern holiday. Originally a post-biblical day of joy, it served as a matchmaking day for unmarried women in the Second Temple period before the fall of Jerusalem in 70 CE. Tu B'Av was almost unnoticed in the Jewish calendar for many centuries, but it has been rejuvenated in recent decades, especially in the modern state of Israel. It is in its modern incarnation, it is gradually becoming a Hebrew-Jewish day of love, slightly resembling Valentine's Day in English-speaking countries. There is no way to know exactly how early Tu B'Av began. The first mention of this day is in the Mishnah, compiled and edited in the end of the 2nd century. So it's probably from the 2nd century, where Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel is quoted saying, there were no better, for example, happier days for the people of Israel than the 15th of Av and Yom Kippur, since on these days the daughters of Israel, Jerusalem, go out dressed in white and dance in the vineyards. What were they saying? Young man, consider whom you choose to be your wife. Ta'anit chapter 4, if you have a Talmud with you. In your homes, you can carry the whole thing. The origins of the date. The Gemara, the later interpretive layer of the Talmud, attempts to find the origin of this date as a special joyous day and offers several explanations. One of them is that on this day, the biblical tribes of Israel were permitted to mingle with each other, namely, to marry women from other tribes. Ta'anit 30b. This explanation is somewhat surprising, since nowhere in the Bible is there a prohibition of intermarriage among the 12 tribes of Israel. This Talmudic source probably is alluding to a story in the book of Judges, chapter 21. After a civil war between the tribe of Benjamin and other Israelite tribes, the tribes vowed not to intermarry with men of the tribe of Benjamin. It should be noted that Tu B'Av, like several Jewish holidays, Passover, Sukkot, Tu B'Shvat, begins in the night between the 14th and the 15th day of the Hebrew month. Since this is the night of the full moon in our lunar calendar, linking the night of a full moon with romance, love, and fertility is not uncommon in ancient cultures. So, it has some little touches in there, here and there. For almost 19 centuries, between the destruction of Jerusalem and the reestablishment of Jewish independence in the state of Israel in 1948, the only commemoration of Tu B'Av was that the morning prayer service did not include the penitence prayer, Tahunum. In recent decades, Israeli civil culture promotes festivals of singing and dancing on the night of Tu B'Av. The entertainment and beauty industries work overtime on this date. It has no formal legal status as a holiday. It is a regular work day, nor has the Israeli rabbinate initiated any addition to the liturgy or called for the introduction of any ancient religious practices. The cultural gap between Israeli secular society and the Orthodox rabbinate makes it unlikely that these two will find a common denominator in the celebration of this ancient modern holiday and the foreseeable future. Now, I know what you're thinking. I know what are you thinking. If all biblical festivals link to Yeshua, where we can find a common arena in these two holidays? From the destruction to the redemption. Yeshua is who for us? Huh? He's the Messiah. Yes, he is the Messiah, but he's what? Huh? Yeah, the Redeemer, but, talking about love. He is our... There you go. He is a bridegroom. Okay? We're all going to marry him, right? In the future to come, in the world to come. We're all going to be able to be with him, to talk with him directly. We're going to be able to learn the Torah with him, because he's the living Torah. We're going to be able to dance with him, to eat with him. We are invited to that dinner to that. I mean, it's going to be awesome. Everyone will be there. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Noah, you know, Abel, Adam. You think Adam will be there? You think Eve will be there? Yeah, it might be taller than me, but it's okay. Anybody can be taller than me. But no, you know, to me, these two things are just the common thing, the common. I don't know. It's. It went out. Oh, it's back. Okay. So, and this is where we are during these holidays, during this season. You know, we just went to the. I mean, the year is just going back quickly, right? It just goes. We just celebrated Pesach, right? We just did it. And we counted the Omer. We celebrated Shavuot. This is our period of time right now. The 17th of Tammuz, the 3 weeks of sorrow, the 9th of Av, Shabbat Hassam, I said 7 weeks of consolation, and then the book of Deuteronomy, it will be gone with the wind very quickly. And then we got to go back to Elul, the month of Elul, and then suddenly we're celebrating Rosh Hashanah, Shabbat Shuvah, the 10 days of Av, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Hoshana Rabbah. Before that, we forgot also the month of light, Hanukkah. So this is basically the cycle that I always like to. This is from Rabbi Rosenberg from Shuvah Israel in New York. I mean, I just love this. I can be looking at this thing almost every week, and I'm like, whoa, what am I? What am I? What am I in here? You know, and we are just right there in the book of Numbers. Book of Numbers, going to Devarim, where you have we just celebrated 7 weeks between Leviticus, between Passover and Shavuot. Those 7 weeks. And then we are moving to Devarim, and then we're going to celebrate another 7 weeks period of time, all the way to from 9th of Av to Rosh Hashanah, to possess the land. Because in these portions from Pinchas and Matat Masei, they are getting ready for war again. They are, doing the census and then counting every soldier and getting ready for war to take over the land. Are you ready to take over the land? Are you ready? I don't hear you. Okay. Seems like you're ready. So, let me just show you some graphics just to remind you certain things. This is, to me, the Torah cycle. This is what we all should have. It's too small probably, but let me read it for you. The first one up there is Tefillah. What is Tefillah? Prayer. This is what we should do every day. Prayer. 3 times a day minimum. Hey, the Muslims pray 5 times a day. Why you cannot pray at least once a day? That's important for the Torah cycle. Don't tell me that you start to read the Torah without praying before. I mean, that's kind of difficult to me. I got to pray before I open my Bible. I mean, Then the other part of the Torah cycle should be the Shabbat. Very important piece. Very important piece. The Shabbat. The reading of the week, prayer, the reading of the week, the Shabbat. God wants to be with us almost every day. Well, every day. It's not almost. He wants to be with us. He wants us to. He's kind of, hey, I'm here. Remember, I'm here. It's like, mothers will understand me better. Mothers are like looking at the children all the time. Even if when they are 90 years old, they're still looking. Where are you? What are you? That's God our Father. He's just looking for what we are. And then the Rosh Chodesh, that's why we are congregated in here. The festivals, definitely. And then we're going back to the future in this cycle. Going back to the future. Back where one of my best favorite verses of the Bible is when he says that God used to walk with Adam. Walk, when you look at the Hebrew, it has two legs. God was, in my opinion, incarnated, walking with Adam. They were walking together as two friends. But that's my opinion. Call me crazy. That's my opinion. I'm not telling you to believe me that. But to me, he was walking with him. So you can tell me, oh yeah, it was spiritual, yeah, it was in his heart or whatever. To me, he was walking with him, next to each other, just walking. All right? Anyways, these are the other things that I want you to remember, the 3 weeks. We just pay attention to these 3 weeks. And then this is where we are right now. This is where we are, exactly. Nisan. And then we're going to have to get ready. We're going to have to get ready. What are we tonight? The biblical month and the next spiritual steps in this cycle are Elul, depression. In Tishrei are the high holidays. In Chesvan is the month that we don't have holidays, but it's reserved for Mashiach. Isn't it beautiful? It's reserved for Mashiach. And Kislev, what is in Kislev? Hanukkah. We're going to have Hanukkah. And then the year will be gone. The secular year. Okay? And it's the month of light. And, Hanukkah and all of that. So, Yeshua is the perfect link. Not only with all the prayers, the Rosh Chodeshes, the festivals, and the Torah, he is our hope and consolations on the Olam Haba. He also is the hope to bring us together on the Olam Haba, in the world to come. The world where everything is going to be perfect, because he's going to be the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. There's not going to be no negotiations with other countries. Okay? There's not going to be nothing like that. Why? Because he's going to be the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings. You either put up with him or not. That's it. You either, that's it. That will be it. He should be the link for everything we do, people. For everything we do. He should be the link for everything you do. If you start a business, if you start a school, if you start a relationship, Yeshua should be first. If that person doesn't follow Yeshua, if that person in that relationship is not a believer, if that person doesn't trust in the Torah, doesn't obey the Torah, that relationship is not for you. Very simple. If in that workplace that you are, there are things going on that you're not in agreement because it violates the Torah, you shouldn't be there at all. And so on. Everything you do, everything we do, should be the link with Yeshua as well. May we remember the destruction and the redemption on this month, linking with Yeshua. Everything should be linked with him. Are you in agreement with that? Let's pray. Abba, thank you, Lord, for your holidays. Thank you for the Rosh Chodesh. Thank you because you teach us how to follow you. Thank you because you sent your only begotten Son to die for all of us. Thank you, Abba, for your message of redemption, for your message of salvation. Thank you for Yeshua, our Messiah. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen.